Hustlers, on today's episode of the Turn Up the Hustle podcast, we have a guest who started hustling at the age of 13 years old. He began promoting nightclubs and events, went on to own 17 mall kiosks across the country, and later managed international music artists on tour. Today, he runs one of the top real estate teams in the country and is changing the way real estate is bought and sold in markets around the world. Today's guest, Scott Malouff. Welcome to another episode of Turn Up the Hustle podcast, where real estate investors, entrepreneurs share their stories, strategies, and mindset behind their hustle. I'm Mike Giannis, aka Mr. Hustle. To my right, Skylar Moon.
Let's go.
And today's special guest, my boy, Scott Malouff. Man, how you doing?
We in the building. Thank you for having me. Excited.
Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, excited to be here.
I was talking to Scott. I was like, man, I don't think I've seen you on too many podcasts.
I turn them down more than I accept them. So, but yeah, I have respect for both of y'all. So I'd love to be able to be here for y'all.
So that alone, man, I definitely appreciate it. And when we started this podcast not too long ago, man, of course, one of the names was Scott Malouff, man. We got to get you on here. Dope. I definitely want to talk about your story in real estate, your hustle mindset, because you've been around for a minute, man. And your name came up a couple of times in previous podcasts, and it comes up when we say the word prominent realtor. Your name comes up, man.
I appreciate that. That's a blessing too. But
let's get into it, man. Before the success, before the wins, who is Scott Malouff before no one knew who Scott Malouff was?
So I've been, I guess, in the hustle kind of since I was about 13, 14. So that's when I started doing high school parties. So I started doing high school parties with a company called A&H. I don't know if you remember A&H. They used to do the parties at Excess, Metropolis, Census, Observatory, Planeta, Grand Central Station, the Tunnel. So when I was in high school, I started promoting for them. They would pick me up from, first I just started going to their events, but after time, they started picking me up from school because I made a really good relationship with Abe and Hannock, who were the guys that were throwing those. And they would pick me up from high school, and they would take me into every other high school in the city, and I would act like I would go to school there and pass out flyers. Now, this is before social media was what it was, so you had to actually build relationships. So I would go inside of these schools, I would look for the people that were doing the freestyle circles or the breakdancing groups, and I would become friends with the person I saw had the most energy, the most influential person. And I built those relationships where we would say, okay, we're going to do flyer pickup, you're going to get VIP. And I did that all the way till I was 18. And then when I turned 18, I started doing 18 and up parties. And I had a good relationship with the owner of Anthro. His name is Juan. And I said, hey, Juan, I want to start doing a weekly party here. And he said, okay. I said, I want to kick it off with a concert. Would you invest? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we kicked it off Thursday nights with Pitbull. And we brought Pitbull to kick off those nights. And then that was consistent over time. And then I started doing Planeta with he's still a good friend of mine. He was a mentor of mine back then. His name is K-Rock. I think you met K-Rock. He does a church under the bridge. Yet we kicked off Friday nights there with Fabulous. So we did Fabulous, we did Pitbull. And then I had Soleil on Saturdays. Soleil was on Wurzbach. Now it's a QT. They knocked the whole building down. Yet so I was doing 3 nights a week when it came to 18 and up parties. And then I started doing, Abe and Hannock moved. Abe moved to South Padre, Hannock moved to New York. So I started doing high school parties. When I was doing high school parties, I met a kid named AJ Hearns that was going to my team parties. He was more just a dancer back then. Talked to him about, music, and he wanted, his goal was to be a singer. So I got him with a vocal coach and kind of blew him up on that end. Had a song called Snapback Swag back then that went on the radio, kind of blew up on that end. And while I was doing that, when I brought Fabulous down, I made a good relationship with his DJ, DJ 45, who was one of Biggie's original DJs. And I spoke to him often, brought him down 5 or 6 times because we weren't used to a DJ that would MC and DJ at the same time, and his energy was different. So he called me one day. He was like, hey, Scott, I just got picked up by Lil Wayne. I'm going to be Lil Wayne's official DJ. And I'm like, oh, dang. So he's like, but I want you to manage me for the after parties. I said, okay, cool. So I started managing him for the after parties on Lil Wayne's tour while managing AJ. And we're in Detroit. And Lil Wayne's manager comes up to me, and he's hot. Because we were there, the promoter was promoting Young Money official after party, which is Lil Wayne's official DJ after party. So he comes up to me and he's like, da-da-da-da, like, what's your name? Kind of coming at me a certain way. His name is Cortez Bryant, good friends with him now. And I said, I'm Scott Malouff. He said, oh, Malouff. And I said, yeah. He said, my apologies. I was like, because the Malouff family in Vegas was strong back then, and they had just shot the Lollipop video in the Malouff brothers' house. So he's like, oh, you're directly related with them. So our families are related when they came from Lebanon. Yeah, when our families came to Lebanon, their family went into prohibition. My family went into produce. So we went two different directions. So and then from there they became the first distributors for Coors. They were one of the first investors of Wells Fargo. They had the Houston Rockets, they had the Kings, and then they had the Palms Casino. So after that, we were cool, and then he would go to the after parties, and he would see AJ perform at the after parties, and then we were on the farewell tour. So Wayne's about to go to jail, and he's
let
like,
me stop you there, man, because
yeah,
you went straight
That's
into
a
it.
lot.
I was thinking like, as a kid from high school, but you got straight into it, man. So I didn't really know you were really that big into the music, because I heard about it. Obviously, your name's thrown around town a lot. Obviously Skylar used to own a nightclub, so we used to go to clubs, and I obviously see you here and there. I didn't know in the last 3 minutes, I don't know that much about you, to be honest with you. That's crazy to hear that you really went that much into the whole music scene.
Yeah.
But let's go back real quick to the high school days. You went to other high schools, you just walked in?
Yeah, I went into the school. So it wasn't like it is today. Like today, if this would
Right,
happen,
yeah, you
you'd
need,
probably
like,
be in some little bit more
ID
trouble.
checks, and you
Like
need all
back
kinds of
then,
stuff.
we did get criminal trespassing warnings, and I was in high school going inside of these high schools. And then when I started throwing the high school parties, I would do the same formula with the kids that were in high school then.
What made you do that? Was it the money? Was it the music part? I didn't even know about this about your family. Was it the family part? Like you wanted to have a family legacy?
Yeah, I believe it was more the relationships, because I grew up with a single mom, didn't know my dad, and my mom was working 2 jobs. So like the nightlife became like the relationships, like the family outside of the family. And the people that I met were like, they were like family. Like we had each other's back. We had different promoters from all sides of town. And those were just people that I just hung out with. And it just became like that group.
And the high school days when you're promoting from 13 to 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your biggest income night as a teenage, 13 to 17, as a teenage promoter?
It wasn't a lot. So it was probably like $1,500 a night, which for me was a lot.
Once a week, twice a week?
During the summer was once a week.
Once a week.
So, and then
about
then
6
it was
G's
just
a month.
holidays. Yeah.
6 G's a month at the age of 13, 14 years old.
You were making it.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's
it
a
was
lot.
a blessing.
Yeah. You said it's not like a lot, like it was chump change, right?
Until I started doing my own.
Right.
And then when I did mine, I was like, dang, I could really, because you can't, in high school you probably could, but for 18 and up, 21 and up parties now, you're not going to get $20, $30 a head to come in no more like you used to. Now you're lucky to see 100, 150 people in that spot.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but this is,
no, right now you can't.
We were doing 1,000 to 1,500 people a night.
Yeah.
And it was a different, and we were doing it 3 to 4 nights a week. So I would do Planeta with 1,000 people, Anthro with 1,000 people, Metropolis with 1,000 people. Then I would go and do the high school party with another 1,000 people, and it was back to back.
So back in the day, you really did a lot of club scenes in San Antonio. Just random question, because I'm curious on how old are you again?
Me, I'm 39.
39. Okay, so we're the same age.
Yeah.
What was your best club in San Antonio? Out of all the clubs you've been to, what really stuck out to you?
You don't have
most?
to say this, it's okay.
The one that was my probably favorite that I promoted was Bar 11.
Bar 11.
Because Bar 11 it just was wall to wall. Energy was always crazy. It was.
Was that Toy Slow? Which one was that? Bar 11.
No. Bar 11's off of Rector, right behind North Star Mall. It's now Slackers.
Slackers.
So it was a 2-story, but we would put 700-800 people in there, and it was great. I don't even know how we put that many people in there. I liked Metropolis a lot too, because they had like this glass VIP that kind of like felt like you seen Power, how like ghosts would look over.
Oh,
like
that's balcony?
Yeah, it had that kind of feel. When they came in and put Rio in there, they kind of took the whole thing apart and kind of made it more open. And I like Bliss a lot too, because Bliss was a little bit more before its time. So.
Yeah, I went to most of these clubs, but I wasn't right at the high school. I went to the Army, so I was gone for a minute. So I know a lot of the names. So I heard the names. You being big in the club space and into music and before real estate, you ever thought about owning a club or any type of club ventures?
Thought about it until, as a promoter, there was a lot of times I was making more money than the club owner, and I wasn't stuck to that venue either. So I didn't have the same P&Ls that they had. Like I didn't have to take care of the staff. Like I would just take care of the DJ, and I would make my money and keep it moving. And I could go to 4 different clubs a week and not be stuck to just one establishment. So when I was a promoter, it didn't make sense. And then when I got into where I'm at today, people ask me like, hey, would you want to invest in this or that? From a liability standpoint, now I'm at a place where it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't match up with who I am today either. So, yeah.
Definitely cool, man. I didn't know that much, to be honest with you. So from 18 to when was your peak promoting days? To when was like, all right, I already stopped doing this?
29 is when I just decided to get out.
Stop.
So it's been
You're in there for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, I was in there for a minute. Yeah.
29. Yeah. What happened at the age of 29? I was like, hey, I'm going to stop doing this. Because obviously, all the years into it, all the contacts that you have, the people you know in the city.
Yeah, I just felt old. One of the reasons I felt old doing it, I think I was tired doing 3-4 parties a week. And I was also, I didn't feel like it was a career, which I don't look at it as a career even today. It was something that was more like something I knew. It was a hobby, and I could still do it today if I chose to. I know y'all come to my Christmas party, so you kind of see like if I really push something, I could make it happen. I just choose not to. And in one of our parties, there was a fight breaks out, and there was always fights, and it was always because I had a party the next day. I had to call everybody and squash their beef before the next day because they're all coming back to the same party. Or such and such got a DWI, things like that. But in this one, fight breaks out. I know both people in the fight, and I know both groups in the fight. And then you hear a pow, and I'm like, and one of our friends got killed by somebody else that we knew, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. Like, I need to change. So that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna do real estate. And I had a friend getting his license. By the time I passed my test, he already was out of real estate. So it took me a while to pass my test because I had to get serious about it. And once I was like, you know what, this is it. And then I just let go. I picked a date for my last party. That was June 19th of whatever 10 years ago was. And I guess 2016. And that was it. So the word decide stands for the death of all other options. It's like pesticide or suicide. Decide stands for the death of all other options. So I decided this is my last weekly party, and I never did a weekly party like that annually again. So
wow, okay.
Crazy thing is that incident happened at the spot that I ended up.
Is it?
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah, I heard that story a couple times. Mike was there. Lorber,
yeah, he was there.
Yeah, crazy.
It was my party. So
yeah.
And that was the thing. I was like, we have gifts. We all have gifts, and my gift is to be a connector. Yet I was connecting for the wrong purpose. I was connecting to bring people together to, hey, let's get drunk or let's do that. And I wasn't connecting to help people grow.
Yeah.
So, and that's where my transition happened.
Why real estate? Out of everything you're doing, I mean, you kind of had different ventures, not in the music industry or management.
So the music industry, so like I was saying there, like we went on tour with Drake. Then after that, we went on tour with Lil Wayne. Then after that, we went on tour with Drake. And I built a lot of relationships in that, and I still have those relationships. It's just the politics side to it and the time. Like I had a son at a young age too. So for me to, like my cousin, he went all into the entertainment. Now he just got picked up in Dubai. He's going to be, he's with Live Nation in Dubai now. So excited for him on that. And I could have took that road, but I wouldn't have been here with my son. I would have been certain things. So I had to make a decision on if I'm going to do the music industry, what does that look like? And I wouldn't be here locally. I had kiosks in the malls. I had 17 different kiosks in the malls. It was called Shoe MGK. I sold all of those too because I would make money at one kiosk, and then I was getting robbed at this kiosk, and it was like I was taking from this to keep this one afloat, and I was in 5 different markets too when it came to the kiosk. So I was like, I'm getting rid of all those. This was right before real estate too. Nothing really, the path of all of those just didn't seem like where I was going. Like if I wanted to stay in San Antonio, make the income I was looking to make, and be able to still be a connector, real estate was the best path for me.
Quite the entrepreneur. Yeah, it's fun. I remember we talked about the whole mall thing because I had the cell phone stores in the mall. Yeah. How did you even get into that? Was it something you just stumbled across?
No, so with AJ, when they managing him, we were doing a CD release at Soul Boutique, and I had a Shoe MGK, which is some friends of mine that were out of Phoenix. They were opening their first location here. I had them sponsor that CD release. And they came and they were like, have you ever thought about investing in kiosks? This is what the model looks like. I said, let's sit down and look at it. It wasn't that expensive to get started. It was like $15,000 to open up a whole and have it set up right. So I was like, damn. So I opened the first one in Laredo, and it was making crazy money in Laredo.
Mall del Norte?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, so then we opened in McAllen, same thing. So I was like, okay. So then I opened in La Cantera. La Cantera wasn't making money like the other two.
Yeah.
So then I had family in Cleveland. So I was like, okay, open 5 of them in Cleveland, move people from here. So I was training people up, moving
Right.
them. Then it was because there's a lot of cash involved in it
Yep.
too. So it was like, okay, we'll give you $20 for this and $20 in your pocket. Inventory will go missing. So, and then I had them in Charlotte, North Carolina too. It just, from there, they were not profitable to the point where I should have just probably stuck with the first 2 locations.
Right.
Yet I learned a lot with it. I learned more on a P&L, how to run those, how to run the business, how to from the
Manage
bank account.
people.
Yeah. So and scripting, actually learned a lot about scripting because when you're cleaning the shoes, you're actually doing a script. So I learned a lot of that through that business. Yet it just wasn't. I got lucky where in Cleveland the Eastside guy bought them all, and in Charlotte the guy that I was working with in Shoe Palace, he was a manager there. He bought them from me. So I got lucky on the sales because I got out and I fell at the right time because now the malls, they're not making nowhere near what they used to.
Malls are tough, man. I was there the other day. It's not nowhere near as it was when I was younger. But then you go to real estate. So when you're doing the kiosk, well, you did the promotion, you did the kiosk. What happened? Like, was it a big influence on real estate, or did someone say, "Hey, I think you'd be a good fit"?
So I've had it in my mind for a long time. I had a great uncle who, my grandpa's brother, he was in real estate, and then I had my uncle that was in real estate, and I've always thought about it. I just didn't know exactly what it looked like. Like I didn't know the actual roadmap. So once I started taking the classes, I was like, yeah, this is it. And this is before, like now I feel a lot of our generation's in it, but back then it wasn't. A lot of our generation had already got into real estate. So when I started, I felt like I was one of the younger agents. Now, I have agents on my team, 19, 20 years old. So it wasn't like that back then. And it was kind of like, okay, it's a start. It's a start over. I'm the young one coming in. Like it was a good transition. And I'm glad I'd made that transition when I did. So yeah.
What was your first real win in entrepreneurship as a realtor or real estate? They said, "Hey, all right, I'm glad I made this choice, and I'm glad I made the decision, and I'm really gonna go full all in real estate."
The mindset. So in getting into coaching. So that first year, I was able to sell 85 transactions as an individual agent. This is before I had a team. So I sold 85 transactions that year. I took this class called Bold. It's a class that Keller Williams offered 4 times. It came once a quarter back then. Now it maybe comes once a year. That kind of helped my mindset a lot because in there it talks about no man or woman stands in the same river twice. So who you are today is not who you were 6 months ago, and who you are today is not going to be 6 months from now. So I transitioned. I became, and also the nuggets I took in those classes were different too. So I got into that. I got into coaching with Steve Collins. He was my coach then. He still coaches our team for our agents that are from 0 to 3 million, and he's still very involved in our organization. And the environment I hung out with was different too. I just took I said, I had love for the people that I was in the club with and the nightlife with, my promoters and everybody. I just had to take a season of I can't hang out with nobody like that. Like I'm not going out. So that's my first year was kind of like, okay, that's my focus.
Well, I can tell you, first year I was a hustler, man, because you said 85 by yourself.
85.
My first year I did 55, and I thought I was killing the man. So 85, that's a lot, man.
No, you're still killing it.
55 is a lot, but 85 is a lot as one person. I did the same thing as one person. 85 is a lot. For the realtors that are watching, because there's a lot of wholesalers that are watching this video, of course. There's a lot of wholesalers, a lot of realtors. For the realtors that are watching who's struggling to do 2, 3 a year, how did you do what you did at 85? What's the secret to get 85 transactions?
Accountability. So I started accountability groups. I learned the conversations, the scripts when it came to expires, for sale by owners, door knocking. What I did with our market center. So back then there was about 700 people inside of our office. Now there's about 1,200 people, and I would get groups. I would text about 30 to 40 people and say, we're gonna make calls tomorrow. What address would you like to call around? And I used Cole Realty Resources back then. Now I use PropStream. And I would put the zip code in or the neighborhood in, and I would print phone numbers for people to be able to make phone calls the next day. And then I would meet them at the office. We would do script practice from 8:30 to 9 and then start making calls at 9 o'clock. Yet I knew everybody was counting on me to show up for the numbers, and then I would lead the script practice call. So there was a lot of accountability on my end that I put on myself because I didn't want to let other people down.
Mm-hmm.
In return, I was there to make the calls. I was setting appointments for myself, and I was consistent on that. And then door knocking. So that was like my first transaction was over there in Tobin Hill by the Pearl. This is right before Hotel Emma opened, and it was referred to by an agent who's now on my team, Janet Favela. She was living in Killeen at the time, and she referred me this deal on Myrtle Street. And when we sold that, wholesalers were actually knocking on the door, and they were offering like pennies on a dollar. And people thought I was crazy when I listed it, and I ended up listing it at $200,000. Got her $200,000 for that house, and at the closing table, she's living check to check. Like that house was like you leave that house, and I know y'all probably deal with a lot. Like you feel like you smell like cat.
Yeah.
Like you're like you got to put Vaseline. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of smell. And she knew everybody in the neighborhood. She was like the mayor. She grew up there 40 years, 50 years. Like they knew everybody. So we bought her another house on the south side. She was able to put about $80,000 in her bank, which was life changing for her. And when we sold it, we ended up door knocking that neighborhood and letting people know where she was going. So we had made some banana nut bread, and we just let people, this is going to be her new address, and then kind of that conversation. Ended up selling 7 homes on that same street, on Myrtle Street. And then those 7 sellers became 7 buyers. So that became 14 transactions in itself. And then from there, I went from Myrtle Street to Park Street, and then going the other way to Grayson all the way down. So that's it's called the ink blot method. You first focus on one street, then you go to the next street, then you own the subdivision, then you go to the next subdivision over. And that's what we did downtown.
Is this trained by you, or is this because obviously I did my real estate license right now. I want to bring about a topic real quick. They don't teach you marketing in real estate, right? They teach you real estate for the most part in school. I went to Sabor. Yeah, they teach you how to do the contracts and everything else. And you're closing this deal and you're saying some methods. I'm a broker, right? I'm a broker, but I never heard the stuff you're saying, which you call it the
ink block method.
Ink block method. I never heard of ink block method. Is this something that Scott did? Is something that you heard from a mentor? Or
so there's a training called Expansion Systems Operations, and it teaches you how to expand your real estate team from or brokerage from one city to the next city. I took that 4 times. Yet and I learned that's what I was doing when it came to the subdivision. Yet I looked at it as from a lead generation standpoint, you can do the same thing when it comes to building your business. So I learned the ink blot method for like how Starbucks moves to the next market. That's how they do it. Like they go, okay, we're starting to get business here. We're starting to get a lot of people from this zip code that came to this Starbucks, so we're going to open in this zip code. And then they just start to spread out. Yet it was not something that from a lead generation that was taught. It was something I learned and then said, you know what, this is what I'm already doing here. This is the same method. It's just a different path.
you said something real quick. You said something about prop stream. A lot of hustlers watching this podcast are flippers or wholesalers. A lot of wholesalers, which we're going to get to in a minute because you mentioned the word wholesalers. It's a lot of wholesalers, and prop stream is like our go-to for everything. I've never heard a realtor said I use prop stream.
Yeah, real estate agents are sleeping. I mean, there's so much opportunity when it comes to prop stream to be able to get listings and earn clients and just understand, even from like the MLS will tell you so much.
Right.
Yeah, when you go on a listing presentation and you can know how much your payoff is, everything about it, how much, and it gives you so much more data that you become more of you know more about everything. So it makes more sense.
It does make sense. Like I said, I've never heard a realtor say I've used prop stream for this, or I use prop stream for understanding the property I'm going to potentially do a listing appointment.
From opportunities, if I was to say, okay, I'm going to focus on divorce clients and I'm going to specialize in that, and I'm going to create a playbook on how to sell your house while going through a divorce. And I'm going to send this out to every real estate, to every divorce attorney and break it down. And then also going to send it to everybody I know that's going through a divorce, because I can get their data through PropStream. And then that's something you could just target market. It's a shotgun approach. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to specialize in, and this is how I'm going to go after it, and this is how I'm going to create the system to be able to earn it. Same with lots and land. Like if I know if I'm going to focus on land and I'm going to focus on this zip code, who's all the developers that have developed in the last 4 years in this zip code? What is their information? What is their email? And then how do I be able to pitch them off-market properties. Because as a real estate agent, if I could say, okay, I can find the land off-market, then I know the developer, I double-side it. My only thing is with the developer is once you develop on this land, once you look to sell it, I become your agent because I'm giving you this property off-market. That becomes 3 transactions in one. Or while they're developing it, you have a sign out there with the renderings of what it's going to look like. You're getting sign calls for that 6 to 8 months while they're building on it. So potentially you get, 4 transactions that you find a buyer for that property. Yet there's a lot of buyers that are going to come, not just for that property, for other properties while they're developing. So it's there's a lot you can do with PropStream.
It's funny you mentioned land. So you actually came up on the last podcast we did last week with Logan Fulmer, and you changed his life and got him basically lit the light in his head. So he had a lot on the east side. I forgot what street he said it was on, but he bought it for $5,000, and you brought him a buyer for $200,000, and he ended up doing that strategy over and over again. Through doing that strategy over and over again, one of them had a dirty deed. He had to figure out how to, took him the whole summer. He figured out how to do that, and now his whole business is cleaning dirty deeds and selling deeds, right?
I remember we called him. It was me and Jevic. He ended up, that was my second year in the business, and we ended up selling that lot, and the developer picked it up. And that's kind of how we took over the east side, because we do a lot of business on the east side. Yeah, Logan's blown up. Yeah.
I think it was a street called Canton. That's what it was.
Canton, yeah.
Canton. So you gotta, the stuff you're saying, man, I talked to a lot of realtors, right? Because in our business, what I focus on is, is wholesaling. And a lot of realtors I talk to, man, they're really kind of one tunnel vision, if that makes sense. And a lot of stuff that you're saying is you're using PropStream, which is primarily a real estate investor tool, not really a realtor tool, especially when it comes to wholesalers. You're finding deals, you're converting that one deal that could be one potential listing, but you're making 4 times out of it from the front side, back side. And the mindset that you have on it, no wonder you're doing how many transactions a year?
500.
No wonder you're doing 500 transactions a year, man. That's really the hustle mindset, man. That's really the whole purpose of the Trump the Hustle podcast, is to get individuals like yourself and explain and broaden people's horizon, especially the realtors, because I know you have a really strong realtor following, and all the realtors that are watching. I mean, this is something to use as a tool like PropStream, and I'm still kind of blown away about the whole PropStream thing, man. How did you even hear about PropStream?
It was actually an agent that left and came back to our team, and he wasn't in the wholesaling world, but he was in more of the investing standpoint, and he was looking at getting multifamily, and he's Eli Evans. He's the one who told me about it, and then from there I kind of dove in deep and kind of owned it now. So,
well, you said you're doing 500 transactions a year. Now that's a lot, right? It's a lot as a team, right? And I've never been part of a team. I've only been part of myself as a small brokerage, the company I was with before, and then the brokerage I created now. And my thought process as a realtor broker was just to have the license, use it what I needed for. Back then I was listing my own flips. I don't even list my own flips anymore, but I was listing my own flips and using that method. I never was part of a team. For a lot of the realtors, a lot of the maybe even wholesalers, why would someone be part of a team versus just doing it themselves? I never really understood the ins and outs of the pros and cons of team brokerages.
There's a lot of different sides to it, yet the leverage side is one of the key pieces. So like we have 5 transaction coordinators that take care of all, they're virtual, but they take care of all the paperwork. So nobody in our team write contracts. They don't write listing agreements. They don't do MLS drafts. All of that is leveraged to a high level. We also have an in-house media team, so they don't pay for any video work, any media work when it comes to videos, photos for the listings, any of that. We leverage that at a high level. Coaching, so we have coaching at different tiers. So 0 to 3 million, they're in productivity coaching. 3 to 7 million, they're in more of a how do we build our business systems and being able to build a back end. And then 10 million and above, we pay for half of their one-on-one coach. 15 million and above, we fully pay for their one-on-one coach. Same with virtual assistant. 10 million and above, we pay for half of their virtual assistant. 15 million and above, we fully pay for their assistant, as well as leads. We do give leads. Their leads are earned. So we just don't just say, okay, hey, welcome to the team. So once an agent's doing 3 transactions on their own, then they've earned a solid lead from the organization. So that doesn't cause entitlement where people just expect leads all the time, where they've earned the leads because of the transactions they're doing. And then from just building, like we help people build business mindset and strategies. Culture is big. So we look at our culture as like a mega church, and how mega churches thrive are through small groups. So on our team, we have different small groups. So we have philanthropy, we have wellness, we have faith, we have events, we have education, we have there's one more, but yeah, that's what we do as a team. So like we have a team women's Bible study, we have a team Bible study. For philanthropy, we do our backpack drive, we do our Mother's Day drive, we do our turkey drive. So those are things that we do as an organization where agents don't have to put any money out of their pocket. Yes, they're able to plug and play with those events, be able to call people. It's like, hey, we're doing a single mother's event the day before Mother's Day. Who do you know that could benefit from this? And then they get nominations. Same with the backpack drive. And then we do our big Christmas party where they don't have to put any other money out of their pocket for that one as well. And that one's 1,000+ people. So that's one of the things we do as well. And then just with the team being able to walk into an appointment and say, I'm on the number one team inside of the number one brokerage in the city has weight in itself too. So there's things we do on that level.
I know a lot of people who get into realty just because basically nightlife, a lot of bottle girls, they want to get out and they go to either nursing or realty is kind of like the two options, right? For somebody who's brand new, they've maybe studied it, just got their license, they come into your office. One, are you even taking on, I know that you took a lot of newbies at the beginning, but are you still taking on folks that are green?
We just say, just very careful on who we bring into the organization.
So then they come in with you and they've got, they've got a good, I'm assuming you look for a good personality, good charisma, right? Not shy, willing to be in front of a camera, willing to be online, able to talk to customers. So they've got all that. They check all that off the list, but they don't know anything about how to get clients. How do you, because I've seen some of your back-end stuff at your office before, you put like your internal trainings together. So you put them through the training, but what's kind of the process, I guess? If there's a new realtor out there that wants to come and join your team, what's kind of the first 30, 60, 90 day?
Hustlers, real estate investing doesn't have to be overwhelming, and you don't have to do it alone. If you've been watching from the sidelines, scrolling past deals on Zillow, or binging YouTube videos, but still not taking action, this is for you. That's why we built Hustle Academy, a community designed for new and experienced real estate investors who want to learn, network, and grow. Inside Hustle Academy, you'll get weekly live calls, Q&A sessions, and step-by-step classes on fix and flip, wholesaling, creative finance, and my favorite, subject to deals. Everything you need to know to build real skills and start closing real deals. You'll join a powerful group of like-minded hustlers who are sharing wins, breaking down deals, and all pushing toward the same goal: financial freedom through real estate. If you're ready to level up, no matter what stage you're starting at, join Hustle Academy today. Tap the link in the description or visit hustleacademy.com and let's trump the hustle together.
So we put them through. So Keller Williams has a thing called Ignite. Ignite is a 3-week program. So we first put them through Ignite. They have a mentor. So our team is also built to build a team inside of a team. That's another value prop we have, where an agent, once they do $4 million in production, they start building a team inside of the team where they get 5% rev share of the agents underneath them. That's never capped. So there's agents on our team making $20,000, $30,000 a year just off of their downline without even, but there's certain standards they have to do.
Right.
So they have a one-on-one meeting with their mentor every week. They have coaching, so they're in group coaching. And then we have Malouff University, which we're revamping right now. We talked about that before we got on the podcast. And that will teach you how to hunt. We look at real estate. When you look at lead generation, we look at it as 4 different things, like the chairs we're sitting on. If this chair only had one leg, we wouldn't sit on it. So you have 4 different ways that you're getting business. One could be social media, one could be open houses, one could be calling expireds, and one could be your sphere of influence. And how are you able to help grow that? And then we teach them how to do that. And so that's kind of how we do with new agents.
What can in 2026, this year, going into it, obviously last year was a tough year for most people. I know y'all still are hitting y'all's goals and hitting transactions, but for new people who are coming into it, whether they used to be a nurse, used to be a bottle girl, whatever the situation is, they come in, what can they expect in their first year? Because obviously 55 and 85 is not happening anymore these days. I mean, unless you're just like I would assume, unless you're an outlier, right? Yeah. What can a new rep, with all the trainings, with all the one-on-ones, with all the stuff that you guys offer, what could somebody who's brand new, fresh into it, expect their first year?
Each person is different. So we've had 2 years ago, the rookie of the year was Kylie. She came in 19 years old. She did $6 million in production.
How many transactions is that?
That was close to about 19.
Okay.
Last year was Angel. Angel focused heavily on luxury, and he was big on expireds. Everything came from expireds. He did $9 million. So, and then this year, the girl that did it, she did about 6.5, and hers is more, social media, kind of growing that in. So we've had different agents at different levels kind of be the rookie of the year for our team. Obviously, on average, an agent in today's market is different than what tomorrow's market's going to look like.
Right.
Yet I would say right now it's probably about 8 to 12 transactions. I used to be very strict. Like I used to be, if you're not doing at least 12 transactions a year, you're not part of the team
Yeah.
no more. Now I've got to a place where you need to do at least 3 transactions a quarter, or the following quarter you're on probation, because we do have standards when it comes to
Right.
production. So what would I have them focus on? Social media is one of the biggest ones, because a lot of people are on social media. And when I look at social media, there's two agents. There's the journalist and there's the influencer. The influencer is the one that's posting things that go viral, do certain things on that end. 20% of your social media should be the influencer. 80% should be the journalist. The journalist is what brings that you're competent, that you know what you're talking about. So that could be, this new development is coming off 211 in 2027. This is what we're excited about. Or in Tobin Hill, this new neighborhood just got developed. This 576 units are going to be built by, like, being the journalist and letting people know what's going on. Or this new restaurant just opened, this is my favorite thing on the menu. This is what I'm excited about. So the journalist is going to be the one that brings the competency. The influencer is what's going to bring the followers. When you marry that together, that's what's going to bring in leads. And then you have to know exactly how to follow up on it. So that comes down to the training. We're training you on how to do buyer consultations. We're not just, oh, let me meet you at the house. We have them come in the office or on a Zoom, and we have a step-by-step process on getting buyers approved. Same with the listing consultation. Like, we're not just sitting them out there and saying, okay, go over there with this paperwork and get it signed. We have a step-by-step process on how we do it with our listings. And we've been number one on resale listings for about 5 years in a row. So we sell more resale listings than any other real estate team or brokerage in the city.
How many people are on the team?
As of today, there's about 40.
So you got 40 people on the team closing 500 transactions. You got a lot of mini groups in the team to build the culture.
Mm-hmm.
You're using PropStream, you're using Malouff University. From the outside, it's like, man, everything's running smoothly. Everything's on point, man. You guys are crushing the city of San Antonio when it comes to traditional real estate. There are times where moments come up where, like, man, behind the scenes, it's not looking too good. Pressure-wise, the market, the numbers, the team.
Yeah, because so on average we do 500. Last year we did 433. This year I believe we'll do close to 600 because we picked up some developers and there's some opportunities that came our way. 2022 we did 531 transactions. Then we took a big dip. I didn't let go of nobody though. Like the fixed expenses stayed the same. So there's times where I was taking $40,000, $50,000 hits per month. And that's like, you save for those days, but like, when do those days end? And I remember sitting in a room with Gary Keller, and he said, a lot of you won't be here in 2 to 3 years in this room, because this is top 100, because you don't know how to be the buffalo in the storm. And I remember sitting there, I was like, okay, I just got to be the buffalo in the storm, because the market shifted and not as many what worked yesterday was not working today. So we had to pivot. There were certain things we had to do that were different. And I know that we got through that storm. By Q4 of last year, we were back to kind of where we were, which was, I was like, okay, we got through the storm. Yet that storm was, some months we would take $30,000, $40,000 hits, and people didn't see that. The perception was like, okay, there's still, because we would still do 20, 30 transactions. Yet the fixed expenses, I didn't fire nobody. So now we're at a place where I feel really comfortable.
It's kind of a different turn on this, but 10 years from now, I know you've got different plans, stuff that you're doing behind the scenes, but I watch a lot of different things on AI just because, I want to be prepared just as much as anybody else in every different industry, and it's going to take over everything, and blah, blah, blah. For realty and for traditional realtors in general, I've seen a wide range of stuff where people are going to walk in a house with Oculus glasses, and you don't even need to go to the house. You can just have the Oculus glass at your house, and Zillow's going to put, the 3D. Basically, you can be in your home touring other homes, so you don't need to go tour homes. So then agents aren't going to be needed, and Zillow's going to capture all that. What's your thinking behind where's this industry going 5-10 years with all the crazy AI and all the crazy stuff coming out?
Yeah, so if agents aren't embracing AI, they're going to get replaced by AI. There'll be certain agents that do stay around because they embraced it and they owned it. Even with our team, we've been in group coaching. This year we switched it to tactical coaching. So like I don't know if y'all know who Jason Pantana is. He's big on the AI and social media coaching training. So for the first quarter, I took us out of the group coaching and put us into those trainings. So we have one call a month with him and one call a month with Jordan Freed, who's my coach. And his coaching is off of leadership. So my goal is to be able to continue to push into them with leaders, because true leaders don't develop followers, they develop more leaders, and we have to continue to help them grow. And then from an AI social media for the first quarter, we have 3 webinars that we paid for when it comes to that, invested in. So that's one thing that we're doing with our team to make sure we adapt for the future. I know I talked to you a lot before this about the modular space, and that's something that I've dove in deep to. I went to China for a month last year in October, and I met with a company called Broad Homes, and I built a really good relationship with them to where I'm helping them open a factory in California, yet I've also got them with the government in Liberia, I've got them with the government in Bahamas, and then I'm also working in Saudi Arabia and the UAE on helping bring that what they're doing in China into those cities. And then here in the US, I'm working with a company called Boxable. Boxable is out of Las Vegas, and I've been partnering them with Keller Williams. Keller Williams has me right now. We're in talks of what it looks like to create a community for modular homes, because if you do the deep research, by 2035, 80% of homes are going to be either modular space or 3D homes. And right now, the stick and brick is what most developers and builders are doing. Yet being able to say, okay, it's done in a factory, it's done by robots, it's done with steel or concrete, and there's less waste. They can build homes like this company in Vegas and the one in China. They can build a home in an hour, and I'm talking about 2,000, 3,000 square foot homes. So you can build a better home at a faster pace, and it's a better quality home. It just makes more sense, and it's more price. The price is better. So I believe it's going to affect a lot of the homes that are being developed right now that may be a little bit overpriced. So that I would be surprised kind of where that goes. Yet that's kind of my focus, is the modular space.
Yeah, you got to check out. He showed me a video before. So they're building, when you think of modular, a lot of people don't even know what that is. If you're just talking to the regular consumer, they don't know what it is. Other people think it may be like a trailer park home, or maybe, a manufactured home, but these things are really cool. Built in the factory, like you said, they're like 90% energy efficient savings. If you think you're building a house, like right now, if you were building a house yesterday in San Antonio, what happened? It's freezing, you got ice all over the wood, which then the water soaks it up. With this, you're inside of a controlled temperature. So it's really cool, interesting what you're showing on where the future may be going.
And if you look at like downtown, you look at the homes that were built in wood 60 years ago, they're all falling apart.
Yeah.
These are the ones that are being built in China. They say can last up to 1,000 years, which is crazy. I don't know how we're not gonna be around to be able to say, hey, it didn't work. Yet that's what they're saying is earthquake proof, it's fire proof, like it's different. So
like Legos.
It is
honestly,
It's like
yeah.
Legos,
well, the
but
way they put it together is like Lego. So
They built like a hotel-sized building in 96 hours because they're all prefabricated. You just stack them, link them. It's already got the ACs in them. It's already got the MEPs. It's already got everything you need inside of it, and you just stack it, turn it on, and it's good to go. Yeah, it's crazy.
You're going into this modular, you're going into the space of the modular, but in investing now, you ever flipped a house? I don't know. Much history.
I've flipped homes. I in this market, it kind of puts me in a weird, because it's hard to say what the comps really look like. So
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So you might look at a comp today, and 6 months later that comp is not the same, or 4 months later it might not be the same. So I've kind of taken a step back to. That's why my focus is modular. Like I had a property management company too. I just sold it, and it was because for me, if it's gonna take my time, it has to be $1 million annual idea for me to be able to step away from what I'm currently doing. And if it's not, if I'm making, I can make an extra 5,000 here a month or 10,000 here a month, it's not worth my time. Like when you say ROI to ROE, return on investment, the return on energy, where's my energy best spent? It's not doing things that are going to make me 7,000 to 10,000 a month. It's something that's going to be, I made $1 million annually on this, and the growth in the roadmap can triple that in 3 years. So
that's one way to look at it, man. Right? One way, like you said, those things about the comps, and obviously we're flipping a lot of houses, and we flipped quite a few houses last year, and
26.
Yeah, 26 on his end, and a little more when you had mine. But this year, I'm already on flip number, for me, is February, and I'm on flip 5. You?
Just got 9 under contract today.
9 and 5 in less than
Month,
30 days.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in the last 30 days that are flips and doing what we're doing. So that's really big on my thing. My top 3 things always been flips, wholesale, and sub-twos. But coming to wholesale. All right, Scott
Bum, bum,
Malouff.
bum.
Last time we talked, and I remember, I don't know where we're at, man. I think we're at your office or somewhere.
We're at my office.
And you told me a word, or you told me a sentence, and you said something along the lines, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I could have swore you said you didn't like wholesalers.
I'm not a fan of wholesalers.
That's what he said. I'm not a fan of wholesalers. Coming from someone like you, who is real prominent in San Antonio. San Antonio is one of the top wholesaling industries, one of the top wholesaling cities in the nation, right? When I think of wholesaling, as I've been doing for more than a decade on wholesaling specifically, we got Phoenix, we got us, we got Vegas, we got Florida, but San Antonio is really, in my opinion, been around for so long. It's city of San Antonio is one, and Texas is obviously a real big city. Big state when it comes to wholesaling. Why would a prominent realtor as yourself say something along the lines as you're not a fan of wholesaling?
So this is not all wholesalers. Yeah, there's a good amount of wholesalers, I feel, that take advantage of people, and it's just being in the industry for a decade now, and the amount of transactions we do when it comes to homes that need to be rehabbed or homes that have high equity. There's a good amount of wholesalers that just don't educate the person. Now, if the house is about to be foreclosed on or something, I agree with that. Yet, and I think I even used the same analogy with you last time, was if it's my grandma's house, and this happens all the time. My grandma's house, a wholesaler knocks on the door and says, I'm going to give you $150,000 for your house. Now the house is worth $250,000. And she doesn't know anything about the market. She's in her 70s, say closer to 80s. It's like $150,000 cash. I bought this house for $50,000, $60,000 30 years ago, not knowing what's going on, doesn't understand the market, says, you know what, I'll take it. That wholesaler then takes it, and he's like, I'm gonna make a home run on this one. Goes and sells it for $230,000, and he goes and he makes the $80,000 that should have been my grandma's money. That's the problem I have with wholesalers, because there's no, if they don't have a license, they're not governed by anything, and they can say and do whatever they really want to do. If a wholesaler has a license, then it's different because they have to still, provide comps and do certain things. So there's wholesalers that give y'all a bad stigma of what y'all do and how y'all move.
How would a wholesaler revert that and say the same thing about a realtor? I'm not a fan of a realtor because whatever the case is, in a wholesaling example, could you come up with something of as a real, if I'm a wholesaler, which I am, and you're a realtor, is there something as I can say, hey, I'm not a fan of realtors, not all realtors, but hey, this realtor don't know the market, this realtor said something along the line, say I'm gonna get your house sold, and it's their first or second transaction, and next thing you know, it's on days on market is 300 plus days. Reverse, do me a favor, man, and let's be fair here.
So
reverse
a real estate agent that goes into a listing and house is 6 months behind on their mortgage, and they say, you know what, I can get you top dollar, tells them a certain number that doesn't make sense. Like it might be either where the market's at, or maybe even a little bit above the market because they don't want to lose the listing and they're scared because it's called commission breath. They're focused more on the money than the person. And then they list it, they're on the market for 90 days, and then they get a final foreclosure letter, and they have 3 weeks to get the property sold. And now they're in a position where they're either going to foreclose when they could have done a short sale. What a smart agent would do is say, because you're 6 months behind on your mortgage, let's talk to the bank and see if we can do a short sale. Or how much equity do you actually have in this house? Let's list it, where it will sell immediately. So there's agents that don't educate their seller because they're more focused on getting the listing than doing what's right for the client.
I can see that. So that realtor, you think there's people out there that want the money and not really just, hey, because they don't know better, or they're just trying to get a shoot or shoot type of deal. Let me get a listing, see if it sells, and I get my commission.
In both worlds, I think there's people that focus more on the money than the person. When you focus on the money never comes. When you focus on people, the money will come over time. Every scenario is different. I believe there's more in the wholesale world that take advantage of people than real estate agents that aren't educated and understand how to take somebody to the closing line.
Let's go back to this wholesale story. Let's go back to grandma's house.
All right, grandma's
Right,
house.
going back to grandma's house, $80,000. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot as a wholesale.
It's a
deal.
home run. Yeah.
It's a home run. Yeah. Granted, I have done multiple six-figure wholesale deals. Each one's a different case. Each one's a different scenario. But each one's a different story.
It's a lot of grandmas.
That's why I said it's
kidding.
each one's a different case, a different
kidding.
scenario, and different story. Let's go to the grandma scenario because there's a lot of hustlers watching this podcast that are wholesalers, and there's gonna be a lot of hustlers watching this podcast that are realtors because you're on this episode and this is your show for this episode. What's the fee? Like if there's a cap, if I can, let's just go to grandma. This is hypothetically, guys. If I can go to grandma and say, hey, grandma wants to sell quick for whatever reason. I personally heard a lot of crazy stories. I don't want my kids to be dealing with it. I don't want to give someone a will. I don't want my kids to be dealing with probate. So I've been in that position before. Is there, in Scott Malouff's head, a fee where a wholesaler, hey man, 10 grand is good, 20 grand is good, 30 grand. Is there a number in your head where you won't feel that grandma story?
If it was $100,000 homes, just for easy math,
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
I would say you're probably at 8,000.
8,000.
Yeah.
Because that's about what commissions are and closing costs
I
and
mean,
all that
if you're
anyways.
looking at, because most wholesalers, they'll pay for their own title policy, but
Right, yeah.
they play it on the back end. So I would say 8,000 probably be the number that you should be at as a host, because that's really what we're going to do. 6%, and then 3% is going to a buyer's agent, 3% is going to a listing agent. So yeah.
So there's an opportunity ahead right now for 40 G's. I should cap myself somewhere around 8 to 10. It's a weird subject. It's a weird subject.
That's in my world is based off relationships.
Your world's based on relationships.
And I'm not saying that yours isn't, but in my world, if I do, this is what my commission, this is what it usually is, because commissions are negotiable.
Right.
I guess we're not. And 6% is what usually we get, 3%. If I do the right thing and get them to the finish line, that client should refer 2 deals the next year and 2 deals the following year because I did the right thing. If I was to say, hey, we're going to take 20,000, I didn't do the right thing. So I'm not expecting, it's more transactional.
More transactions. It's definitely two different worlds. And I don't know if we can ever do apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Because in my world, what I look at is, and I'm sure it's similar to yours, it's a lot of money that goes into marketing, right? A lot of money that we spend on ad spend, on doing each transaction. Now, this is actually a true story. We closed a deal last week. One of my guys in the office, his name is Joe, and it was an elderly individual. She called our office and said, hey, we got a hold of her somehow. I want to sell quick because I've lived here for X amount of years and was for sure easy 10, 15 years. Her daughter was handicapped, and she finally got approved to live in some type of handicap disabled apartment lifestyle complex. Whereas I guess she was on a waiting list for months, and she didn't want to lose that opportunity. And the people we come across in wholesaling is, and I've said this for years, there's a lot of people that we find that will exchange equity for convenience. And that's the way I see wholesaling, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm also a broker. I can list a house too. In this market we're in, if you want top dollar or you want to price accordingly, depending on the condition and depending on how fast they want to get it sold, that's not going to happen. That house is not going to sell, and she needs to close in 3 weeks. So we got the contract. I ended up buying it. We could have wholesaled it. Probably could have made 20 grand on it. He made the call back and said, hey, we're closing next week and this and that. And she said, oh, I thought you were going to tell me some bad news. And his response was, what bad news would I be telling you? I thought you were saying you're going to have to go lower for whatever reason because we took about 9 buyers to the house. We ended up wholesaling again, or we kind of kept it, to be honest with you. I saw it was a good deal. I just I'm just keep it. But when she called and said, hey, I thought you were going to do a price drop because I saw there was foundation work, which I didn't think was that bad. But nonetheless, she was there. She heard the foundation guy said, and my guy said, if I wanted to, I could have done an easily 15 grand price drop. Now, did we do it? We didn't do it. We didn't do the price drop. 20 grand is good enough for us to move what we got to do. The money we spent into it. She was happy. We were happy. But that was a lot of hustlers watching this podcast like, Mikey should have just done it. And I get it, to each their own. She was elderly. I saw her daughter, and we're going to actually post this video on YouTube. So you guys check out the YouTube channel and see how the family was and what the case is. But I guess it goes to go, every case is different. Every person is different. Every wholesaler is different. Every realtor is different. But a strategy is a strategy, whether you do 6% commission or whether you exchange equity for convenience.
It is. If a wholesaler calls me, you probably talk to them too. I tell them we do not like working with wholesalers, and I tell that all the time because, like you just said, with that scenario, there's probably over 50 times this has happened in my career where a wholesaler will call me and they say, "Hey, we haven't." I always ask, "Do you have the end buyer?" "Yes, we have the end buyer." "Okay, let me talk to the seller because right now when we don't have any offers or certain things, seller says, "Okay, we'll take that offer." Okay, 10-day option period. Day 9 or even sometimes day 10, 1 o'clock hits. Hey, we're gonna send over a termination. Bro, it's been 10 days. Like, I knew you didn't have this I knew you didn't have this end buyer. Or, hey, after we ran our numbers, we need to do an extension on the option and we need a $10,000 price drop. You haven't sold it and you would do a $10,000 price drop so you can try to intend to sell it for another 10 days. Those are the type of things, because then I'm having to call the seller back. And I look like, oh, they're good, they're going to get it closed, a cash deal. It doesn't happen. And they just talk and their audio does not match their video. And what they're saying is not true. And that happens a lot in the wholesale world.
That does happen a lot in the wholesale world. There are a lot of wholesalers that target MLS listings, make cash offers, don't have end buyers. They feel like they do, right? They feel like they have a strong dispo team. They feel like they have a strong set, and they feel like they can get it done. If you go back and look at all my content throughout the years, I've always said, don't waste the seller's time. I've always said that for many, many years. Don't waste the seller's time. That's one thing I really hate, especially when it comes to sub twos. But were there times where you were in a listing, it's like, man, I wonder if I should call Mike and see if he has a buyer to do. Is that any every time as a prominent realtor who has a lot of listings
No time ever.
and say, hey, maybe the seller wants to sell. Maybe if the house is vacant for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and they're paying another mortgage, now they got 2 mortgages. Have you ever come across like, man, let me just call somebody, whether it's me or another wholesaler in this market, and say, let me just see what he has to say.
I've texted y'all addresses. Y'all know I've said, hey.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I don't do it often, but I do with the scenario.
That is true.
If the person, I'm like, I know, like that one house I sent you in New Braunfels.
New Braunfels, yeah.
They got foreclosed on. Yet I sent it out to people because I knew we needed something immediately. If it's not, and I feel the market's going to get us into a multiple offer, we price it aggressively, I'd rather do that. And I know end buyers sometimes don't want the things on the MLS because they don't want the buyer to know what they bought it for too. So if I know that you have a lot of people that are in your world that are actual flippers and are actually going to get it closed, and you're not going to come and beat me up on the price, then I'll send more deals to you.
That's good. I'm glad you brought that part up because I flip, Skylar flips. And the reason, a lot of flippers, or if you guys wholesalers that don't know this, a lot of your end buyers don't like doing deals on MLS because it shows what the wholesaler, what you guys got it for. Let's just say you got it for 100 to make things easy, and you wholesale it to your buyer for 120. On MLS history, it's going to show 100.
Mm-hmm.
The end flipper is going to have a hard time because, to me, the person who's listed that property and the person who's the buyer's agent, they're going to go and do MLS history. Oh, this guy bought it for 100 and now he's trying to sell it for 230. So that's leverage that they lose. So that's why it's always best to do off market deals. And that's why most wholesalers typically go, hey, send me off market deals. And I would see a lot of stuff on Facebook looking for off market deals, and you get a bunch of realtors that just don't know better. Oh, I got this deal, I got that deal. They're asking for off market deals for a reason. But it's cool to see on your end going down that fine line, right? Being ethical, being moral, and at the same time using wholesalers as a tool when needed.
When needed. Yes.
I'll chime in as somebody who doesn't have a dog in the fight in either one, because I'm not a wholesaler and I'm not obviously licensed or a realtor, but I'm in the game as a flipper, right? And so I see both sides. One, just at the outset, I think that it goes down to the person being ethical, right? I think there's obviously realtors who are unethical and there's wholesalers, we see it all the time, who are unethical. So that's one. But two, you brought up something interesting that I've thought about in the past, and I don't even think I've talked to you about this because it's just not my world. I don't really care that much. But if there was a way to put some kind of, and I think they've talked about it, put regulations or some kind of regulating body over wholesaling, because from my standpoint, it is super valuable for me as a flipper. And for any city you're in, the city has, like you said, a bunch of rundown houses that need fixing up, right? And so as a guy, somebody owns a construction company, an investor who flips all the time, or somebody who's trying to come in and flip the city, if you will, make it look nicer, because it's going to happen. When you have these older homes that are getting older, somebody has to come in there and do that work, and there should be a profit that's paid on that, right? And as a flipper, whether you're doing 1 a year, 50 a year, 200 a year, you need somebody helping you find those deals, right? If you're doing 1 a year, you can go out and do it yourself. But if you're doing multiple projects a year, you don't really have time, unless you want to open up a wholesale arm of your business. You don't really have time to go out and find those deals. So there is a service to be had on the wholesaling side, like you said, if it's done right and ethically with the right people. The problem I see right now is that every kid on YouTube, I mean, you've seen it, 12, 13-year-olds doing wholesale deals, right? Because they followed XYZ social media person, they've watched so many YouTube videos, and it's so easy to do it. You make phone calls, like you said, to people, promising them the moon, knowing you don't have a buyer, right? And so that's the part where it gets tricky. So I can see both sides. As a flipper, I can see we need wholesalers. Our business thrives on wholesalers, right? If I tried to do deals, how many deals have I bought from you? Just to be frank, 0, right? I buy very, 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 out of 26 deals last year, I probably got 1 or 2 from agents, right? And so, but the rest of them are from wholesalers. And so from the flipper standpoint, somebody who's trying to make the city look nicer, revitalize different areas, different houses, different neighborhoods, you need those wholesalers in order to provide that service, right? And they should get paid for the service, for finding the house that's ugly, being able to see, tell the story of how this is a good neighborhood, the comps are good, the days on market's low, you're going to have success in this neighborhood. So you need somebody to do that legwork for you, and they need to be paid some kind of fee, $8,000, whatever it is, 8 to 10% or whatever. But what are your thoughts on some kind of body regulating it, and what would that even look like? Sorry, that's a long question.
Well, I think eventually it will be regulated, because there's people in that world that do a lot of stuff that I don't know how they sleep at night.
Yeah.
So I do see there will be some regulations. I don't know when yet. I don't know if you think that, but I do see that. And I think they're going to end up having to get their real estate license. Yeah. And then if they choose to stay in that world, and then what they'll end up doing is they'll just have to be, if it was with you, they just need to know your numbers. Like, okay, Skylar's goal is to profit 15 to 18% per flip. I know that this is his holding cost. I know that, this is what the closing cost is, because you're using hard money. I don't know if these days you are. So they have to break all that formula down to be able to go into a house when they go into a listing. Just like I said with calling lots and land. And if I know I'm working with the developer, and I know the developer's goal is to make 20% per home, or 20 to 25%, in this market, 20%. And I know what their cost is. I know what it's going to be I know what their time looks like. I know they need to get the land at this number. It'd be the same with the flipper. Like, I know they need to get at this number to be able to make sense. Usually it's probably about 60 to 63% of what ARV is. And they have to really be at that number. Yeah. So, and I know there's other people that are 50%. So it's just different.
And I think it would even make businesses like yours even better, because you weed out the liars, you weed out the cheaters, you weed out unfortunately, the 14, 15-year-olds that are just trying to shoot, right, make a deal. And they do, they'll hit home runs every once in a while. But people who are like you, who have an office, who are systemized, who use systems and processes and teams, and, you're doing the same stuff that he's doing on your side, building culture, building an actual business, and not just hey, I'm going to try to get one big 80 pop, and then I'm good for the rest of the year, right?
I mean, for the last easy 6-7 years, every year has been more than 7 figures coming to wholesaling. I already made a business out of it, and there's a lot of business out there that do the same thing. Now, funny you guys are bringing up the story. Some states already started it. Some states already started regulating wholesaling, depending on their state. I think Texas is probably going to come up eventually. I don't know when, but some of the states already started regulating wholesaling, cans, can't do's, and all that good stuff. But let's go past wholesaling. What about subject twos? So subject two, obviously, I've been a big, he's like an uncomfortable face, man. I've been a big advocate for subject twos. I mean, I don't even know if you know the true history of what I've done. I mean, currently own hundreds and hundreds of subject twos. Now, for me, subject two is the best tool that I've done between the 3 of wholesale and flip sub two. I do them all, but I just love sub twos. It really made me the person who I am today. It made me my portfolio. But as a realtor, going back, a prominent realtor at that, going back to my initial question, when it comes to subject two, what is your first initial thoughts?
I am not a fan of subject twos.
Bless it.
2 for 2.
Cancel this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you not
flipping?
Why are you not a fan of subject two? Let me ask you something. You ever thought about investing in real estate but assumed you needed perfect credit, a huge savings account, or a bank willing to say yes? That's exactly why we're excited to partner with our guy Mike Leyva at Conventus. Conventus is a real estate lender built specifically for investors and not homeowners. They help people fund deals like fix and flips, buy and hold rentals, and even ground up construction. And here's the part most beginners don't realize. Conventus doesn't lend based on your W-2 income or your personal credit score. They focus on the deal itself, the value of the property, and the numbers behind it. That means investors can often access higher loan amounts and more flexible terms than a traditional bank, sometimes with rates that are more competitive than people expect. So, instead of asking, do I qualify? The better question becomes, is this a good deal? If you're serious about getting into real estate investing and want a funding partner that truly understands investors, reach out to our go-to guy at Conventus, Mike Leva, today using the link in the show notes and see how real estate investors are actually getting deals funded.
If somebody's in a situation, I think they can just put it with a property manager. It matters their financial situation. They can put it, if they can't sell it in the market, they don't have the equity, they can just get it with the property manager and lease it keep it themselves. I don't see them putting themselves into a contract where now somebody else is the owner. Now that person that might buy it, because the rental market has taken a hit, they might be losing $400 to $500 a month because they're not getting the money that they intended to. Yet that person is stuck to that note for however long until that person sells it. And with subject to, you can't put a balloon on them. So it puts us in a different situation. Then I know there's people that now they're getting more creative and they're like, well, we're going to put it into a trust. And now they're calling and they're that's how they're educating people on it now. I still feel it's better off if the person just says, you know what, I'm going to get it with a property management company. I'm going to lease it out for the next couple of years. I might take a little bit of a hit, yet I know when the market shifts, I'm not going to be stuck to that property. My name's not going to be stuck to that property, and I can get it back. Or not saying this doesn't happen with you, but there's people that buy property subject to, then they take a hit financially. They can't afford to pay that mortgage no more. And then now that mortgage is still under that person, and that's another situation. Or also in the subject to, if the bank finds out, and this is a small percentage currently, yet if the bank falls out, they can call that note due. And then that puts it in another situation too. So from a liability standpoint, I don't think it's the smartest place to be able to tell a seller, I think you should do a subject to.
In 10 years, have you done a subject to deal?
Have we done, me personally? No, I don't do subject to.
What about representing the seller?
Have we represented a seller? We have represented a seller. Yeah.
So you came across it if the time was right, if needed?
I don't
somewhat. Because you're representing a seller, so obviously you're the one that have to advise them, yay or nay.
We advised them that it wasn't the best scenario,
and they still said,
they still did it. Yeah.
So
I think you were the buyer, actually.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. It was with one of the agents in our team, but
Angel.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, big advocate for subject to deals. I think a lot of investors should really learn. I think a lot of realtors should learn, because realtors are the most first point of contact when it comes to subject to deals, right? When we're targeting wholesaling and it's an ugly, dirty, stinky house, 6 heirs, probate, and I live in California, it's inherited. Most of those guys are going to call people like us. Hey, I need to sell my house quick and fast. When a nice house, modern, turnkey, they've been in it for a year, the house is only 2 years old, they're going to call a realtor first. So realtors are ideally the number one source to go to when you want to sell a house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how realtors sleep at night when they don't expect or explain or educate to the seller what a subject to is. Because I've seen deals, right? Let me say my piece here because I see you wanted to speak already. I've seen homeowners lose their property. I've seen homeowners where a realtor said your best bet is just to let it go. I've seen homeowners be upside down and actually get foreclosed on because what you said earlier, they have commission breath.
Correct.
They much rather focus on getting the 3% commission versus trying to get the deal sold one way or another. Now, what you said earlier, of course, if Skylar, he's financially set, he's educated, he knows what he's doing, and he moves to a different market and he has the opportunity to lose negative cash flow, and he can't. But not everyone is in that position. A lot of the subject to deals that we do, they're not in that position. Hey, they're military, right? Because I had 12 years military. They don't want to be an out-of-state landlord. They don't want to pay any expenses whatsoever. Divorce, no equity, bankruptcies. I bought a house 2 years ago. Now I'm getting divorced, but they're still building houses in this neighborhood. I cannot compete with the builder paying 8% commission and all the closing costs. I have barely enough to pay even the 6%, and I could do zero seller concessions. And they try hard and hard and hard. The market today is not the same market as it was 6 years ago. The market 6 years ago, if I was doing a sub 2, the payment's $1,500 and the rent's $1,800 or it's $300 cash flow. Mm-hmm. And back then, they still don't want to do it because they don't want to be a landlord. They don't want to pay management fees. They don't want the headache of a tenant possibly destroying their home. Today's market, the mortgage is $1,800 and the rent's $1,500. You're really upside down because of the market and interest rates. And I've seen so many realtors, in my opinion, screw over sellers because they said not to do it. When you have someone, not everyone, but when you have someone as credible as me, who's done hundreds and hundreds of subject to deals, currently have hundreds of subject to deals, and I understand the concept of, what if I have a bad month, right? Or what if the case is, my business and subject to deals and doing this over a decade, that's my foundation. That's what I do. That's what I love doing. And to educate all the hustlers watching this podcast, and our course in the Hustle Academy, we talk about don't do your subject to deal if you're not ready. Don't do your subject to deal if you're trying to do a deal and if you don't have at least minimum 3 months reserves for that one specific property in case the tenant doesn't pay, all that good stuff. But let's go back to what I said earlier. What about those realtors that say what do you call it, commission breath? What about those realtors that have commission breath? Hey, Skylar, you have no equity, but let me list it anyways and see what happens.
Well, there's a lot of parts of this. So, first off, with this, the real estate, there's real estate agents that aren't fully educated on how to deal with a house that doesn't have equity. So, if not say you, but say somebody else, wholesaler, calls this real estate agent and says, you know what, I'm going to offer a subject to. They're going to go, okay, you know what, I can. The rental market might not be the seller might be in a place where they can afford a $200
Right.
loss. Yet the real estate agent's more focused on the wholesaler said he's going to still pay me $10,000. He's still going to pay me my commission on this deal if he gets me the subject to. I'd rather get that than refer this to a property manager or tell the seller it's not a good time to sell. I see that happen a lot with a lot of real estate agents where they're focused on more of the sale than actually saying, you know what, I'm going to walk away from the sale and walk away from the sale for a future sale because it's still going to go in your pipeline. Because you can refer them to the property management. If you have a good relationship with the property management, you should get that sale back 2-3 years from now, whenever the equity shows up, maybe 5 years. Yet, that's what I would recommend that part. Second part is you bought it subject to VA buyer, like you said. Now, say it was with Randolph Brooks. Randolph Brooks finds out Mike now owns his property. That's not who we agreed to do this with, and they call a due on clause, you do on sale clause. What do you do in that scenario now?
So in 10 years, I've done over 200, 300 sub twos. Currently own over 200. It's only happened to me twice.
So what happened?
But there's a lot of things we can do. One is in the land trust. So the land trust is what gives it the blanket security, because if Skylar Moon owns the house and we put it into 123 Main Street land trust, the bank Randolph Brooks, for instance, cannot say that Skylar Moon can do estate planning. So we show them the docs, hey, he put it into land trust and it's estate planning. They cannot not say you cannot switch it to a land trust.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were not in Skylar Moon, let's just say I took it up to and I sold on a wrap owner financing. Second thing I would do is sell the note. The third thing I would do is, because who I am financially, I would just cash out the underlying lien and kind of refinance my original debt to it. The fourth thing I would do, if it was a rental, we can put it back into the land trust, or we can just put it for sale. There's a lot of different exit strategies that we can do, but again, not everyone's in my position.
So what you said, 90% of people
Right.
that are doing subject twos wouldn't be able to do it.
Right,
And the
yeah.
reason they're doing subject two is majority of the time because they can't buy. The majority of the people doing subject two can't buy a house actually financed. A lot of them. Another scenario, VA, okay, you subject to it. This is their second property. Their entitlement is 100% now. What are you gonna?
That's up to the second one, or they're gonna buy their second one.
You subject to their second VA home. So now they're in an entitlement issue. And they're looking to buy their third home, and now they want to use their VA loan. What do you do?
So
next?
that one, if they're sub-2ing their second one, and I'm glad you brought that question up, because a regular realtor wouldn't ask that question. A regular realtor said, hey, they had a VA loan. My answer for a second one, you use your bonus entitlements. But if it's gonna be the third one, and we do educate, hey, because I'm a veteran, did 12 years military, I understand the VA loans. The first one was your VA one, your second one's your bonus entitlement. The third one, you probably have to go conventional. So we do disclose that.
Okay. So what if they come back 5 years from now? You still have the property. Like, we need to use our VA.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't. I mean, you
See.
at the time 5 years ago, you agreed to it, and it is what it is.
So that's
I'm
the
not gonna
type,
sell you a car, and then 5 years ago, bro, can you paint it blue again?
and that's it's
Yeah,
and,
it is what it is.
life changes for people.
Life
and
does change.
and that's why I wouldn't advise someone to do a subject to. And every scenario is different, but it was that scenario. Not to say that happens a lot, but that scenario puts them in a position where they might be in an emotional decision at this time. 5 years from now, just like I said, no man or woman stands in the same river twice.
Right.
5 years from now, they could be in a whole different thing where they're like, you know what, we're 100% disabled vet now. We need to buy a house. We can.
Which is true. I get it.
and-
But 5 years ago is when you needed me, and we said, hey, you're going to commit to a subject to. And I said I have the life of the loan, which is 28 years. Doesn't mean I'm going to go 28 years, but at 5 years ago when you agreed to it, we're there. You can't go back on me because you're changed. I'm still in the same position that I'm in. I'm still the real estate investment company. That deal's still flowing, whatever the case is. And when the time is right, it may be 3 years. But I will tell you, Mr. Veteran, you got 100% disability. I would highly suggest you look into a 3.5 FHA, because if that's the case, it's only 3.5%. Or we could go conventional with a 3% down.
Yeah.
If you're 100% disabled and you're making money and you're retired, I mean, you're probably in a position. You wouldn't be in that position if I didn't sub to that house 5 years ago.
Possibly. Or they could have got out of the property management. They could have lost
If
a
they were in
couple
a time,
$100.
If they were in a time, by all means, they could do it.
And then 5 years later, now we own the house, we can sell it.
Which I get.
And
if they were in a position 5 years ago, they would have done it if there was a realtor involved or whatever the case may be. So it just depends on how you find it.
Everybody's education is different when
Right.
it comes to how they educate the seller. Is there times where subject twos could work? There probably is. I'm just not a fan.
All right, couple more scenarios and we'll pass this.
This little clip's gonna be a whole YouTube video itself.
Yeah, the sub 2 thing has just been my thing, man. And I worked with a lot of realtors. So for example, I just did a realtor call me the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yesterday, realtor called me yesterday. And I got a client. It's been 2-3 months. They haven't sold it. There's no showings. It's a tough market. And I said, cool, let me see the numbers. They were listing for $250 and the payoff was $240. My response is, hey, what's your commission you're charging? Oh, 6%. I was like, did you do a net sheet? And the response is, what is a net sheet? Right? I was like, cool. Well, let me break it down to you. If you were to get a full price offer with 6% commission, top policy survey, potential 5 to 10 grand seller concessions because the market that we're in, your client's gonna be upside down 15 grand. Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Anyways, I was calling because someone referred that you're the sub 2 guy. Cool. I'm the sub 2 guy. Yes, I can do it. Good thing is I'm a broker, so you don't have to pay my 3%. Based on the numbers, the best thing I can do for you is give you 1%. And then he said no. What are your thoughts on something like that? A realtor who can't sell it, there's only 10 grand equity in there. Even if they were to get a full price offer, they said 1, the broker doesn't allow it, and 2, that it was offensive that I offered to pay their commission 1%. Seller can't do the, go back to that scenario, they can't do the property management. They need out. They need out and they need out fast.
Yeah, that goes back to an agent being commissioned, but they're not doing what's best for the client.
Yeah.
In that case, first off, for us, every listing appointment we go to, we have to have a net sheet on our side, like with our team. So they already know, we figure usually it's about 8% when you sell with an agent is what we do with title and everything at the end of the day. So we already know on that deal, it's going to be close to about 20,000. So you're about right. So they're losing 10,000.
Yeah. And that's a full price offer.
Yeah.
House has been listed on the market for 2 months, 3 months already, no showings.
So there's
probably get a full price offer.
we would look at what we need to do to enhance the house. Like how does the staging look like? What are we going to do to be able to make sure that this house is positioned to be able to get a full price offer? And it sounds like that agent, with the education they have, they might not have done that. So we would position it correctly.
That's what Malouff International Group would do.
That's what Malouff International Group would do.
Goes back to what I said, what you said. You're not the 90%. When you said that to me, right?
Yeah.
You're different. But talking these guys.
It's different because even with us, like we'll stage houses and get paid at closing. Like we have different things that we do to be able to make sure the house is positioned to sell.
Right.
A lot of agents are just going to go in and just list the house as is, no staging, no nothing. Just pray it sells.
Yeah, hope for the best. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
If there's little to no equity as a realtor, what you can do is apply for a modification. You can try to do property management. You can try to rent it out yourself. You can try to sell it owner finance if you like. You can do
There's also
Airbnbs,
short sales.
You do short sales.
And a lot of agents don't know about short sales, or short sales are not short. Like those are long. They take a minute. So if you get it, when you get it approved, that short sale's really that's gonna sell like that.
Can you do a quick elevator pitch on a short sale for the viewers that are watching out there that don't know? They're brand new into this. They don't know what a short sale is. Can you just explain it real quick?
It's gonna be a seller that's a couple of months behind, usually about 2 to 3 months behind. It could be longer on their mortgage. And the bank has to approve a number to be able to sell it in this market. You're going to send a comps. The bank's going to say, okay, you know what? Instead of us, you owe 260. Yet instead of us taking 260, we'll take 240 and call everything good. And then we can list it at this number. Majority of the time, you're not going to get closing costs. You're not going to get any additional expenses that you're looking to get paid on. It's just going to be the 6%. And if you're doing any repairs, you're not going to get paid on those either. So you got to be careful on what you do on those. Yet they're going to look at the market. They're going to be strategic. The bank's going to say, okay, in 30 days, we listed at 240. We can drop it to 230 now. We can drop it to 220. So they're aggressive on it too, because their goal is to sell it instead of foreclose on it.
And do they write off the difference, or they bill it to you and you got to pay installments, or goes all bad debt?
The bank writes it off. Yeah, cool. It's done. It's a done deal. So it's avoiding a foreclosure on your.
Cool.
My response when it comes to short sales, that's obviously what you said. If the house is 260, the bank will say, hey, we'll take 220. If you list the house for 220, it's going to sell in a short amount of time, hence the short sale. Only thing is the process takes like 6 months.
It could take a minute.
It could take a minute. Now, my opinion...
Unless it's with a hard money lender. Hard money lenders are faster.
Yeah, hard money. They probably just foreclose, but it's still a form of foreclosure. It's telling the bank, "Hey, bank, Wells Fargo, I owed you 260. I can undo it, and you accepted 220. It's like a settlement, and it's still a form of foreclosure for that potential borrower that's gonna have a hard time buying a house in the future.
For at least the next 2 years. A
Or you can just
foreclosure
simply-
is going to affect you for the next 8 years.
Right.
So like if you get with a credit specialist or somebody on that end,
Right,
they can help with the short sale, get you back right faster than if you
right.
had a
Yeah,
foreclosure.
not as strong. I don't want to beat up too much of the whole subject to wholesaling thing. Two different worlds, right? We've
Two
both
different
been doing this
worlds.
for a decade.
Two different mindsets.
Two
on
different
it.
mindsets, two different opportunities.
Two goats in their industry. Give them that.
That's one way to really put it, right? Two different opportunities when it comes to wholesaling and sub-twos for just the prominent realtor and doing all you can do to get an actual listing and provide the client what they're supposed to do. Again, I'm a broker here, but I don't focus on the brokerage. I focus on the investment side. But again, you definitely have two individuals handling two different things, and I think the way you put it was
I
probably the
think
best.
that just looking at, again, from the outside in at both of you guys, is it's a case of what we just talked about. If the individuals, the right individuals with high morals, high ethics, and cares about relationships and actually cares about the end client, whether it be the person you're buying a deal to wholesale, whether it be the customer you're representing the listing on, as long as you care about that relationship, the industry itself may have a bad rap, or people in that industry, each one may have bad raps. But I think with you guys specifically, because I know you well and I know you well and I know your businesses, I think that like the moral of this whole story is that you are an ethical, moral person doing things the right way, who actually cares about, is not transactional, right? Is not doing it just for another transaction, another tally on the mark, if you will, and another dollar in the bank. But if you're actually doing it the right way, each business could be a good business, obviously, money wise, but could also be looked at well. I think that there's just a lot more people. And I do get your point. I think in his industry, unfortunately, if you had to put a scale on it, there probably are more crappy wholesalers and people who give it a bad name than there are realtors. Not to say that there's not a ton of realtors that give realty a bad name, but I think if you had to say, hey, it's not 50-50, it's either 51-49, if you had to tilt the scale one way, sure, it probably is on this one, just because it's so easy to get in, right? There's, no license, like you said, no cost of entry, basically, other than what you pay for your education or wherever you find your education. And so, that's why I think maybe some kind of regulation. I'm all against regulations typically in different industries, just because I do think it puts a damper on industry and it slows things down and makes things harder to do. But not to say that there can't be some kind of happy medium, right? Where there's like, hey, if you're 12 years old in Bangladesh, you probably shouldn't be wholesaling somebody's property, right? So there's got to be some kind of safeguards on it, right? But then I can see on your side where if you come and say, hey, you're capped out at 5%, well, you may still be offering this client a great deal where it's, a 15% deal for you. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do, just speaking about you guys specifically, I think that, you obviously are very moral and ethical. I am office next door to this guy and I see what he does every day and I know that he's doing business the right way. And so as long as you're doing the business the right way and you're not, it comes down to the person and the heart of the person, right? As long as you're a good person and you're sticking true to who you are, I think they can both be good businesses.
Very well said, sir.
Yes.
Let's talk about my hustle real quick, man. My hustle has always been three things: wholesaling, flips, sub-twos. When someone says, Scott, man, what's your hustle? What's your go-to deal?
People. I think people is my main hustle because it's helping people elevate to become who they're supposed to become in life. When I look at people, it's how do we utilize your gift to move from one season to the next season. And when I look at my best investment is in people.
I saw something the other day, man. You know a lot of people.
I know a
You
couple.
know a lot of people, man. And every time I see you, whether it's at church or at a restaurant or whatever the case is, and I told him one time, months ago or whatever it was, I told him, every time I see you at church or wherever the case is, whoever you're with, and we go to each other and say, what's up? It's never failed. If there's someone that's with you at that time, you said, hey, this is Mike. This is what he does. I think you guys should connect. You think you do that intentionally or just it comes out naturally? Or are you a really good people person? Like you said, you're trying to elevate everyone, because I've met a lot of people and they, hey man, what's up, bro? Yada, yada, clout, whatever it is. I don't know. But you're different. Every time you're with someone, hey, come real quick. Hey man, this is Mike and I think you guys should connect.
I get joy off of connecting people. I like to see people win together. And if somebody, like, if I'm meeting with somebody and I know their goals, I know their dreams, we use Ford for a lot of things. I know you'll probably do the same. And if I know their goal for the year and I know what they're looking to achieve, who do I know that I need to connect them with to be able to help them achieve what they're looking to achieve if I can't help them myself? and there might be somebody in my Rolodex, and a lot of times it could be you, a lot of times it could be Skylar, and you just never know when you come up and you see somebody that's an interruption. And you look at what you're talking about at church. Look at Jesus's miracles. Majority of his miracles came from interruptions. So if that was an interruption where we saw each other, that connection could be something that could end up being great. And my goal is to be able to connect, to be able to help somebody achieve that.
That was deep. Oh, good, man. No, it shows a lot about your character. And then going to this, kind of my last thing here is, obviously this is the Trump the Hustle podcast. Trump the Hustle, to me, man, it's not a slogan. It's a way of life. It's who I am. Every day, my mindset is Trump the Hustle. What does Trump the Hustle mean to Scott?
Hunger. Showing up consistent with confidence and character, and being the best version of myself no matter what hits me. Because if something hit me, if I say this a lot, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it shouldn't matter in 5 minutes. So not dwelling on situations, bad or good, because nothing is as good or as bad as it seems in the moment. So when things happen to you, it's just letting go, keep it moving, so I can be the best version of myself the next moment when I'm in another conversation.
What was one time in your life, whether personal or real estate, where you sat there and was like, man, I really need to turn up the hustle?
When it was about 7 years ago for the real estate, I had switched coaches, and I was still coaching with one, but I switched with another coach. And he looked at my P&Ls and he was like, you got some work to do. And I was like, okay. So my goal was to grow the team. I know what I needed to do. I know what I needed to do to be able to help support my people. So from there, I went from doing 200 transactions to 400. And it was because of the consistency of showing up and making sure my people showed up too. So I'd probably say one of them. I think with the events we do, continuing to grow those. So like even now, I'm looking at it from this year. Like, we do our annual Christmas party. That's the only party I do that's not connected to some type of like giving back. And this year, my goal is to turn it into more of a gala where I pick 4 elementaries and become Santa for those elementaries, where every kid, and I'm going to go from the lowest as far as income level. How can I be Santa for these 4? Every kid in this elementary gets at least one Christmas gift. And then from there, how do we grow that? So my hustle, it's not about what you get, it's about what you give. And for me, it's how do I continue to give at a high level? Because that's what it looks like. I mean, that's when I look at money is like a river. Money's like a river, and you got to keep it flowing. And if money stays like water stays for a while, it gets stagnant. It's the same with your money. If your money just sits, it gets stagnant. It's no longer good. So that's why they call it cash flow. You got to keep it flowing. So when I keep my cash flowing, am I doing good with it? Or am I out, say I'm not, you won't see me there, but say if I was at Sugar's every weekend throwing the money's probably not going to flow back because I'm entrusted with this money. So I got to continue to make sure that I'm doing like a river, flowing with it so it can flow back, so I can continue to do good, so I continue to grow with it. And that's how I look at it.
My man. Well, that is.
What if you have, for the viewers out here who maybe haven't, just the first time they know you, seen you, where can they find you at? And is there any departing words you want, or anything you want to push, or any departing words you want to say?
Instagram is probably best, Malouff. That's really where I'm at majority of the time. Facebook's been at capacity for me. Well, actually, no, they switched it. So yeah, Scott Malouff on Facebook now. You can follow there. So, and then what y'all are doing, I love what y'all are doing. I love y'all's energy. In our city, we need more. So in the word community, you have the word unity. And I think the more we're able to unite together to be able to grow, I think the like-minded people are going to help elevate the city, because how it looks today is not how it's going to look 5 and 10 years from now. And the players that are actually hustling and doing things are going to be the ones that are able to show what the city's going to look like. And I believe y'all are 2 of those people that are breaking the ground and doing it each and every week. So I'm proud of y'all. Keep it up. I love what y'all doing with this podcast. Make sure y'all consistent with it, because that's what happens a lot, I think, with podcasts, is people come in and they'll do 10 or they'll do 20, and then they kind of fall off. So I know y'all are going to continue to push it, and it will grow. And I want to see it just be a light for the city.
Well, definitely appreciate the kind words, and appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. We will definitely have you on back later on in the future, see if we can change your mind on the
Get you
whole.
some subsidies, man.
Yeah.
Once you buy your first step too, that's going to be a video right there.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but anyways, really do appreciate you coming on, and always the best to you as well. And really do, I admire you. There's not very many people in this city that I can say that I really look up to and admire, but, you know, having known your story, your past, your morals, your ethics, you know, especially in any industry, but in this industry as well, there's a lot of people that are just chasing the dollar, and you can tell you have a much bigger, higher purpose and a higher calling than just moving houses and doing transactions, right? So I really do appreciate you taking the time to come out here, and always best to you for that as well. And so we will wrap this one up, guys. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been another incredible episode of the Turn Up the Hustle podcast. If you did like this and you get value, we make sure that you would like it and subscribe to this channel. And as always, turn up the hustle, and we will see you on the next one.